Cut this shit, it's time to go. Genius show, let's start the flow. 100 times we've lit the spark, thoughts that shine in the dark. Celebrate, we've reached the peak. Epic thoughts every week. Real people, real vibes. Creating change, changing lives. Cut the shit, it's our show. Epic thoughts to make us grow. Mind stamping moments, raw and real. Change the world with how we feel. Leaders take the stage, epic change, a brand new page. Cut the shit, just be free. Genius thoughts, you and me. 100 episodes we've done, learned a lot, had some fun. Gather around, let's ignite, creating futures, pure delight. Cut the shit, it's our show. Epic thoughts to make us grow. Mind stamping moments, raw and real. Change the world with how we feel.
You gotta dance. It's the 100. You gotta dance.
Sorry, I can't unhear this now.
Welcome everybody to Cut the Shit, cue the Genius 100th episode. Woohoo! Confetti, woo, yay! Oh my God. Yes, Marissa, the song is AI generated. It's with Sono.com, and I think I had little too much fun with it because I have like 5 million versions of it, and it kept trying to edit shit out of the song. I'm like, no censoring. We're not doing this. But lovely to see everybody here. Thank you for joining us. This is fantastic. You have always been our geniuses in mind and within this program from day one. We have our usual suspects, Connie, Rachel, Sean, and Shapiro with espresso in hand. Megan, I'm so glad that this time worked for you. Craig, you have always been that supporter. I think you're our work husband, like all of our work husband. John, good to see you. So we have an incredible show, and I am truly grateful for all of you. I'm also very grateful for our supporters and for those that were like, okay, 100th show, we went and we put out like a little email to our loved ones. And we're like, hey, do you want to be our 100th? And it was like, hell to the yes, we want to. So we have an amazing show for you. But before I go on, I want to ask Liz and Bruno, what was your favorite episode?
We can't throw that on us now. Actually, I have one actually now. She doesn't prep us for these.
You go first.
Michelle, I think one of my best episodes, although we've had some industry amazing people on here. Michelle, I feel like you had your niece on the show.
Oh,
was it your niece?
Yes.
And I thought her insights were so interesting. And I, of course, loved the fact that she was a family member. But I always like getting the non-industry perspective sometimes. And I thought not non-industry, but you know what I mean. And I thought it was a memorable one for me.
Fantastic. Bruno, what about you?
Oh, I think that, the AV cost one, which came from a Liz post, was probably the most invigorating.
Yes, absolutely. And it caused the most, what is it? Like a lot of
we had detractors and fans all in the same room.
Yes.
Scooping it out.
Yeah, we did. I think actually one of my favorite episodes is when Aisha came on and talked about neurodiversity. And I think it's eye-opener. And I love that we are bringing in thought leaders, which we are today, but also those that are our loved ones and give us insights, from their perspective. So speaking of thought leaders and speaking of guests, so this program is going to be epic because this is what we do. And we have amazing guests. We have Claus Raastad, who's going to talk about shitty badges and shitty networking receptions. And we also said there is no filter. So that was another thing that was like a yes, let's do that. Julius is also going to join us with a crystal ball to what event tech is all about. And we need to understand what is going on in there, as Liz is also pointing out what the F is going on in the events industry. So this is a little bit part of it as well. We're bringing back Shannon D'Souza in a very different angle, and she's going to be talking about My Human Design, which is, and we'll share the URL with you on that, but this is like the roadmap that you should be taking on. It's almost like your operating system from a professional side and from a personal side. So it's pretty cool. Deborah Sexton, what can I say? I miss her. I miss her in the industry. She's never really left, but we're bringing her back in the building. It's like Elvis. Elvis is returning to the building. And so she's got a lot of insights in regards to leadership and what's changing right now. Hey, Bogdan. And then we have Greg with Cast Magic, who's going to show us automagically how we can create content, which I think is something that a lot of us struggle on the personal side, from a professional or personal branding side, as well as for events. We're like, how the hell are we supposed to do so much content in so little time? So we're going to get started. We would love for you to be as interactive as possible. Ask the hard questions, share your insights, be with us. Clap if you like something, thumbs up if you do, thumbs down if you don't, if you disagree. Hell, this is where it's going to all happen. So we're going to bring on our first guest, Claus. He's in his Batman suit, so ready from Copenhagen to take this on. So, hey, Claus.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. You didn't have to take it off. I was actually going to match you with some others, but yeah.
I'm better when you can't see my face. That's the deal. I know. Thank you. I know.
Well, thank you for being on the show with us.
Thanks for having me. And thanks for doing this. When I was listening to you talk, well, first off, I thought doing 100 of anything is pretty damn impressive. A couple of years ago, I did a project called 100 Keynotes in 100 Days, and that was a ton of work. And the fact that you guys have gotten to 100, that is impressive. And the fact that this cut the shit, cue the genius thing, well, one of my episodes was called How to Sell Shit and Overcharge for It with a Smile. So this appeals to me. I feel at home. Thank you.
So Bruno has some hard questions for you.
Take it away.
Claus, we've never met, but I did watch some of your videos, and I have to say I was a little scared. But I'm gonna give it my best shot here. First of all, what is it that you have against badges? Do you just not like square objects, or you're a circle person? What's going on there?
Let's talk name tags for a moment.
Let's do it.
Let's talk badges at events. Now, I've taken out this beautiful thing. See, anybody who's watching can see. This is from the last conference I was at. This is from the World Experience Summit done by the World Experience Organization. Amazing people, amazing organization, great visionary leadership, going somewhere, experience design, all the good stuff. And the badge, it's nice and thick. It doesn't break easily. It's this plasticky thing. It has a little bit of production value. So far, so good. Now let's look at it. What do you notice? We're going to hold it up here. What do you notice? Tell me what you see, Bruno.
The name, your name.
Oh, my name, yes, which is nice. My name is there. What else do you see? What takes up half of the name tag?
Yeah, their logo, their show logo.
The name of the bloody event. I know where I am.
Good branding, though.
The branding, yes, but who's the branding for? Is it for the organization so it can be seen on pictures? Or is it for me, the participant? We don't have to answer that one. And even though the WXO people are lovely, and I'm one of the founding members, so I'm even a little bit one of them, this is terrible. What if instead, let's say we just took this badge, right? This is not the worst. It could be a lot worse. Let's say we took this badge and we remove this and we suddenly have this nice piece of badge real estate. What could it say? Liz, what could we use it for instead?
Maybe some engagement ideas. Ways to connect.
Maybe some engagement ideas. Exactly. Bing, had it in one. There's even bingo on the other side. Da-da. Had it in one. What if it said here, it said two things. We used all this nice space and it said, ask me about something that I care about. Ask me about pricing, or ask me about innovation culture. Ask me about role playing, or ask me about conference design. And then everybody now has a hook to start a conversation with me if they want to. And then it could, above that, it could say, I'm curious about expansion in China, or about AI models in the event business, or about career growth, or about DEI, or whatever it is. Just put those two things on it, and you will find that people have a much easier time engaging with each other. Because what's the number one thing everybody says when you ask why they go to events? It's to meet the people. It's the networking. What's the thing that's usually the worst designed or not designed at all? It's the networking. Why do I care about badges? Because we all get badges. We all look at badges, so at least we can find out, oh, what was your name again? Person I've met 3 times over the conference. Oh, right, you're Roger. Good. And you try to sniff it out without being too obvious about it. And then you also do like, oh, is Roger from Disney? He's not from Disney. Oh, no, I don't care about Roger. Oh, the other person? Oh, they're from, oh, I care about them, right? This whole dance of badges is a thing. Why don't we use them as a way to make it easy for people to engage with each other? If we change nothing else, remove the big logos and the branding, or make them tiny, and then put on there, ask me about something. What do I know? And I'm open to talk about it any day of the year. And what am I curious about? Who am I here to meet? It could even say, I'm here to sell coaching. Well, that's honest. Then somebody who comes up to me and says, it says you're here to sell coaching. I'm looking for a coach. The way I see badges is a little bit like if you go to a bar, like you go to a bar and it's late at night and you're drunk and you're looking to hook up with somebody interesting. And then there's one approach, which is you go there and then you go up to the first person you meet and say, hello there, sailor. And then they show you they're married. You go up to the next and you say, hello there, sailor. Here's what I'd like. They're like, yeah, that's not my thing. You're kind of creepy. Goodbye. But what if you instead came in and you wore a badge that said, I'm looking for desperate single fathers with low self-esteem for a bit of an adventure. Now, you might not get a lot of people who are interested, but you can be damn sure that when somebody comes up and says, hi, I'm John, can I buy you a beer? That's a hot lead, whether John is hot or not.
That is one hot lead.
That is
one hot lead, right? And you want John to be your hot lead. You want it at the bar, you want it at the conference. And of course, it's not about John, it's about you.
I think that's brilliant.
So you characterize event design as absurd and conventional. Maybe not all events, maybe just some events. So my question is, what does rational and extraordinary look like?
So the first thing is that extraordinary, I come from something called the College of Extraordinary Experiences, pretentious as hell. There's a castle and all sorts of stuff. But the first thing to realize is that extraordinary only exists in opposition to the ordinary. If we went back 100 years and you showed somebody not even an iPhone, because they'd be like, what the hell is that? You just showed them a TV. They'd be, oh, I'd heard about these movies and now it's in your living room. How crazy.
Sorcery.
What is this thing, right? You go back 200 years and you show them electricity. You go back, you get the point. And the thing is that the extraordinary is doing something different. And when you go to McDonald's, right, ubiquitous restaurant, global, very standardized, that's kind of their brand and their quality promise is that it's the same all over the world. If you've never been to a McDonald's, that is an extraordinary experience. Food comes fast, it's high quality, or at least decent quality, it's cheap, it's blah, 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 it even tastes good. But if you've been there 100 times, then it's like McDonald's is the most ordinary thing in the world. So the first thing is find out if you want to do the extraordinary, don't go looking for it. Look for something that is extraordinary for the people you serve, whether they are bank directors or they're business professionals or they are artists or whatever it is. Find something that they're unused to. That's the first part of extraordinary. The second is get out of your standard spheres and look at different things. This is a place where I can rant, so I will do it. Thank you. I am so bloody sick and tired of event designers who think that they're making Ferraris when they're making quad bikes at best and probably broken bicycles at worst. Because one thing is making bicycles. I ride a bicycle. I'm Danish. I love it. But when somebody comes to me and says, Claus, you know, a Ferrari is slightly faster. Then if I say, yeah, but I like my bike, that's fine. But if I say, oh, the Ferrari, it drives the same speed as my bike. It's like, no, it's just not true. And then they're like, oh, have you driven in many Ferraris? No, never seen one. never been inside one, never driven one. But then how do you know your bike is so good? Because I am from one of the big organizations in the biking world, so I know we do it best. I am so tired of that. Innovation happens at the edges. Innovation happens in the weird spaces. It is rare that the big players are actually at the forefront because they're busy actually doing what they do, and they do it very well. But when I go to an event with 5,000 people or 2,000 people, and it's industry leaders and they all know what they're doing, they've been there for 30 years. And when they talk about, well, we are so cutting edge, we have Q&A sessions, we're interactive. I say, that's not what I mean. It couldn't be more. Sure, it's good. It's better, but it's good, but it could be better. And they're like, oh, ha, 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 ha. No, no, no. We have interactivity nailed because we have Q&A. Ooh, it's hard, even for a guy in a Batman suit. And that's why I bring the glasses, because then I can put them on and they cannot see the thunder in the eyes.
So give us 3 examples of extraordinary interactivity or networking designs.
So I'm going to give you examples that shouldn't be extraordinary, but actually are.
Okay.
The first one, and I wrote about this recently in an article for a meetings magazine, is if you're doing a networking event, right? These classic networking parties where it's the evening before and we're all out to meet each other and we're here to connect with old friends and meet new ones. And there's a beautiful venue and the host get to say, welcome to Paris or welcome to Las Vegas or whatever it is. And everybody's there to meet each other, right? This is our scene. Start by turning down the music. We're not even talking big stuff, right? I love simple solutions to simple problems. Start by turning down the music. If you want people to talk, if you want them to dance, by all means, throw on some techno, put some cocaine in the don't put some cocaine in the corners. People will bring their own. This is the meeting.
Put our theme song on.
Put a theme song on and say, this is the business card dance off. Bring your business cards and throw them on the floor and give them to people you're dancing with. So there's no talking, but we get a lot of business cards exchanged. That's fine. But if you want people to talk, then start by turning down the music, right? This is where we're at. We're not even at the complex stuff. We're not at the intricately designed and interlocking and ooh la la. We're just at let people talk if they're there to talk. And the second part is we talked about name tags before. How many events have you been at where name tags are small enough that the only way to read them is to be like this? And maybe it's a little bit uncomfortable, especially if you don't know that person or if they're wearing some tight-fitting clothes and you're an old white man who wants to know.
That's what Liz was going to talk about.
Exactly, right?
This is
real. The struggle is
looking?
Real. So the next thing is first turn down the music. The second thing is if you want name tags with people's names, that's smart. It makes it less awkward to talk to each other. Then make them big enough that we can read them, right? This does it reasonably well, but it could be bigger. And it's because we have this convention that this is the maximum size of a name tag. Why the hell is that? Why is this the maximum size of a name tag?
I mean, I think we did really well for a bit when we had those little stickers that says, hi, my name is, and then you just actually wrote it with a Sharpie.
Which can work, right? And most of all, it's if a thing is meant to convey information, then it should do that. I've recently, right now, the European Championship in football, what some might call soccer, infidels, is being played right now in Germany. And if you look at people at a football tournament, whether it's an American one or it's a European one, then you'll find they have big names and big numbers on them. Imagine going to a conference where everybody was dressed in sports jerseys with their name on them. Now, it might look a bit weird, and your nice Gucci suit or your suit from Hugo Boss will have to stay at home, and even the Batman suit will have to stay at home. But what it would do is it would mean, oh, you see number 94? He's over there at the other end. I'll go talk to him. You know why I wear the Batman suit to events? Because I'm easy to spot and I'm easy to remember. Right? I have people who said, I saw you on the floor at the other end of the show and I wanted to come over to say hi. And I say, thank you. That's why I wear this suit. Why are we not doing more of this, right? It's the low-hanging fruit. It's the simple things. Yes, I can harp on for hours about things that cost money and take expert designers and all that sort of thing, but we're not even there. If we can just do some simple things that are free better, we go a long way.
Well, I think you're onto something where it's the name badge, not only the design or the size, or maybe there's different ways of using a badge that has your information on it, or even if it's a t-shirt where you have the information on the back, but it has to be a conversation starter, right? Or maybe it's tailored by the type of attendee or event participant, first timer or 10 timer. Someone saying, instead of like the ribbons, I know that we used to have the ribbons as well, and there was a ribbon wall. I used to have a ribbon all the time that says runs with scissors, and people would laugh and they would say, oh yeah, that's right, Delia does run with scissors. But like, you use it as a conversation starter. You use it as part of the event design. And like you said, then you carry it over to the other moments, whether it's the opening reception, whether it's Joe or John at the bar, that type of scenario. I don't know if people are at the point where they think of name badges as part of an event design.
Bingo. And that's where we hit the core of this, is when I talk to event designers, which I tend to do from time to time, about their event design. Well, first off, a lot of them are not event designers, they're event producers, which is great, but that's a different skill set.
Yes.
Being able to juggle a million things in your head, being the one who actually cares about, are there 67 chairs or 68? How many bananas are on each fruit table? That is important. It matters. That's event production. That's not event design. Some people are event producers and are brilliant, and then they dabble in event design. Some people are event designers and they're brilliant, and then they dabble in event production, but it's rare that people are both. So that's number one. Number two is, when I talk to event designers, whether they're producers or not, and I ask them, usually their idea of what an event is much more limited than my idea. There's so many times when I talk to somebody and then they invite me and they say, hey, Klaus, we've heard you do wild events. We'd like your help. I say, great, that's what I do. And they say, yeah, so let me tell you about our event. I say, okay, tell me what we're trying to accomplish. What's going on here? And they say, well, here's the date, here's the participants, here's the speakers, here's the agenda, here's the food, here's the tables, here's the AV. Now do your magic. And I say, what exactly do you think my magic is? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to do the tablecloths in a magical way? I say, yeah, that would be cool. But no, we actually have a tablecloth guy. But if you could maybe do some magic, like, yes, but the magic is the design. What you're looking for is somebody to change a tiny thing so you can do exactly what you're used to and then have it be a different result. And that doesn't work that well. Right? Of course, I can come in and help do origami napkins, and that might have an effect, but it's not going to be a big one. And that means that event design professionals, their view of what is an event is, as said, limited. And there I go by a quote from my old friend, Danish experienced designer called Bjarke Petersen, who says very nicely, said this many years ago, he said, everything is a designable surface. And that means, do you have agendas under the chairs because there's a surprise element? Maybe. Are the name tags part of the design? Definitely. Are the toilets part of the design? Well, they could be. Is the food? Is the parking lot? Is the website? Is the is the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da? You can design a lot of stuff that is part of your event, even if you're not thinking about it. But the first thing to say is, what is actually part of the event? Which parts are we designing and which parts are we letting somebody else do? Because, and here I'll take one thing and then I'll shut up about it. Table design. I can rant about table design for a long time.
So we might need you on a different session for the table design. We're gonna park it, Klaus. But
we'll park Melanie, it, right?
Let's park it, because Melanie actually has a cool question, and this is a good ending.
Yes, sorry, Melanie.
How do you help change their mindset? And I think, Melanie, if we're on the same page, when you say their mindset, it's like the C-suite or those that are just in the status quo. They've done it. It's not broken. They just want you to sprinkle some magic fairy dust, pixie dust, whatever, or like the wand. And so how do you change their mindset?
The first thing is you start by finding out, what are you actually allowed to change? Mm-hmm. And if you're in an organization, right, let's say you're told to put together the yearly stockholder meeting, classic thing. And then if you go and say, I think we should have a different agenda and everybody should be wearing monkey masks and the CEO should crawl in while Dire Straits is playing live. then maybe you're going to say, yeah, how about no? But if you instead say, okay, so here's the agenda, here's the program, here's the seating, everybody feels safe, they're like, okay, great, good event. And then you've made something fun and interactive at the toilets, or maybe you've organized the buffet differently, or maybe your check-in experience has saxophones and a little bit of a fun quiz, right?
Did you just
Start
say
by
fun and
finding out.
interactive at the toilets?
Montreal design the best toilets right now, actually.
So here's the thing. This is from an old role-playing event, but was quite effective, is they wanted to create a rumor mill for characters in this role-playing event, and everybody would once in a while go to the toilets. So at the toilets, which were centrally located, there was note paper and pencils, so people could post on notice boards the rumor mill. So if you were playing a character, you could you have probably heard this rumor, and this is a great way to spread rumor around. So anybody could put anything up and anybody could read anything to represent how rumor works. You can easily copy that design for an event. And it means that you go to the toilet, you're sitting there, you're doing your business, probably alone, because that's how most of us go to the toilet. And you're sitting there and it's not that interesting because you know how this is done. And then in front of you is a small notice board and it says, the next hot thing is AI impersonation of show hosts, or booth design is coming back, or did you know Dahlia has a new book out, right? Even that small, simple thing will make the toilet experience a little bit different, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more weird, a little bit more risky maybe, because who's going to write, you should check out John, he's hot, a hot lead, I mean, right? Yeah. But suddenly you have a space for interaction, you have a space for interactivity, you have a space that nobody thought was part of the design that suddenly adds a whole new element to it. Fantastic. If you want to go that way.
I love it. So we're ending out this Claus with bathrooms and loos and like what we're going to write on toilet walls from now on. But thank you so much for being with us. I think you have sparked so many ideas and people are having holy shit moments, and they're probably contacting their name badge vendor right now and just ripping them a new one. So that's what this is all about, right?
That's why we end at the toilet. If we're going to have holy shit moments, we should end at the toilets. Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claus. Whoa. That was a lot. I think everybody's are going to go. They're going to say,
I think there was a theme there. It wasn't events.
Huh?
I said, I think there was a theme there. It wasn't events.
No, it wasn't. But I mean, there's points to be taken there where it's like, you know, just looking at name badges as part of the event design. I'm not sure if people are doing it. You know, I know that you have like Jabberyak coming in and those type of partners coming in, and they are changing that conversation. But it's tough. I mean, to Melanie's point, you know, she's going through it right now. It's like, how do you change people's perception? And they should cut the shit about doing the things same old as they have been. So that was cool. I want to be in Copenhagen right now and be Robin and just have drinks with Claus. That's what I would want. So that was a great start. I mean, if everybody that's tuning in, like, let us know. Sean is like, wow. I think LinkedIn user is actually Peggy, because we've had this where we see the LinkedIn user, but not her name. But yeah, so, and Craig's like, does this idea spark joy? I would say, for one, if on my name badge, I had like just one statement saying, I know the event Wi-Fi, that I would be the number one person that people would talk to. All right, so we're going to get ready for our next guest. I don't know if he really needs any introduction, but we have Julius coming on in a minute or so. Oh my God, and he's here. Okay. Now, Julius.
I don't like this thing. I don't need introduction. Now I want an introduction. This is like, what is this new thing? Like, I want a proper introduction.
Julius Solaris does not
make a wrong introduction.
He has an entourage, and he is known for being very blunt and being like the voice of like, what the F is, Liz, I think he's copying you. What the F is going on in the events industry? There's not a lot of people that are taking that route. You know, there's a lot of diplomacy and like, let's be, you know, Let's not rock the boat. No, I think it's freaking time that we rock the boat. Don't you
Yeah, no,
agree,
I mean
Julius?
it's fun, how I'm the one who kind of like has to say things as he wants and like as he please and all that. I'm a one person thing, and like then we have organization with thousands of people that are like pushing like incredible narratives. Let's pick on those. I'm just a humble servant. I'm not doing anything.
Oh, so you're humble to be humble, but I want to first thank you and say grazie mille for being with us. And I hope you had a wonderful time with family in Italy.
I did. Yeah, I did. It was a good
Espresso
break.
all the way. Did
Yeah,
you do?
I mean, I was working anyway, but I was in Italy.
Okay, yeah, working in Italy. I mean, that's a good thing. So let's talk about, like, we keep trying to push the industry forward. It's been almost like 100 years that we've been saying same things over or warning people, hey, guess what? Be resilient, all of that stuff. So what I want to make sure is we want to hear it from you. Let's talk about event tech, because you got all the event tech geeks actually in one screen right now. But what is happening? Like, get your crystal ball out or your espresso cup and let's read coffee for a second. But is it moving? Is it not? Is it like, what's missing and what's taking so long?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before I start, let me do an introduction by thanking you all. Congratulations for this 100th episode. We've been friends for so long. We've been doing this for so long, on different sides, on the same side, whatever. We've witnessed it all. But your dedication, I understand it because I do the same from a content perspective. It's something that we have to celebrate as a community. So it's such a pleasure. I couldn't miss being here with all of you. And I really appreciate everything you do to advance event technology, advance the events industry, not just like with professionalism, but also with passion, with human contact and all of that. So I'm a big fan of all of you. Sometimes we don't speak for months, but then we can meet at a random event and just pick it back up from where we left off. So it's a pleasure to be with you. Really, I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Julius.
Of course. And going back to event tech, listen, let's not try to be, too demanding with people, because like events are a pain in the ass, right? So, it's very difficult to manage events. It's a lot going on. And, technology, we got to be realistic with the fact that technology for a long time hasn't been helping, as it's been creating more layers of difficulty, complexity, instead of solving issues, right? There's been, I think, a disconnect with the nature of the audience as well, because you don't get in the events industry because you like technology or you like to be behind a computer. You get into events because you like people, you want nothing to do with tech. And so I think the old guard, as I like to call it, not necessarily for, ageism, but for the tenure that they had in the industry, it's kind of always traditionally struggled with that. But how to like literally go back in like 2005, 2006 and look at the software back then. What was it? Like, can you really blame them? Like, in retrospect, can you really tell them, no, you should use more of this crap, sort of Excel on steroids that we were calling software, which is not, right? Was not, and it's never been. And maybe today we're starting to see the first amazing user experiences. AI is helping a lot. No code solutions where you can drag and drop stuff that we've been asking for years.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I'm through the years, I started my sort of writing at EventMB, but then now it's called Skift Meetings. Writing, very angry about event profs not embracing technology. Through the years, with wisdom and gray beard, I started to understand how, this is probably, we still have obviously our limits as event planners, but it's also a problem with technology. Was being unable to provide software that was up to speed, but also to a certain extent, it hasn't been able to fulfill the real needs of events. I was doing, like, I can give you a practical example. I was working with a client a couple of days ago. They wanted to move away from a platform, and we were helping select the next platform. The biggest complaint they had with the existing platform had nothing to do with the technology. It was all about the people. It was all about promises not kept. development that never happened.
Customer service.
Shipping like code, like integration with Salesforce. I mean, do I need to ask for that? Do I need to pay $15,000 because you want to sell me an integration with Salesforce in 2024? Come on, like stuff like this, like please be out of the market. We don't want you anymore in the market if you do that. So that's I feel also the rate of change that needs to happen from an event tech perspective to literally get the events industry to embrace this. It's like, these are not stupid people. Event planners are very smart, talented, 360-degree type of people that understand a lot about everything. And technology is part of that. And so they understand what they want. We just have to be able to serve it better.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that in regards to, the organizers and the planners. What they're searching for is more than the capabilities and the features. They're searching for strategists. They're searching for, those that can help them with business intelligence, how to turn that into revenue. And a lot, what I feel that is still missing, and this is not a general statement, but it can be, where it's like the tech companies need to step up more as strategists, as well as the customer service is not only about integration or like, the custom fields or the hamburger icon going from left to right on a screen. They need to come at it with like, let us empower you for you, event prof or event planner, to become a business strategist.
I love that, Dalia. And, this is very on trend. Like, these days I talk about a lot about what is happening in the event industry, right? From a global perspective. And one of the biggest trends in events is like agencies like yours, like Dalia Plus, or like BW, and like so many other agencies that are building that extra layer in the market of connecting tools that should help solve issues with events with the actual need of event planners. That is like to have that strategist mentality. And so there's a third layer of these agencies that are exploding, having incredible success in the past 2-3 years by building custom integrations, by getting tools together, by actually making those APIs work that never work, actually making them work. So, there's a lot of stuff that people promise on feature pages and stuff like that. And then there's what's happening at events. And so that third layer is being currently filled by agencies and consultancies. Hopefully event tech companies understand that, this is like something they need to do. And like bigger companies like Cvent, for example, they have a team of 10, 15 consultants that run a consultancy within the company, because they truly get that they just got given a software is not enough when you have a program with like 150,000 people and like 65 different registration types and 50 people working on a team. It just doesn't happen by yourself.
No, that's for sure. Liz, any questions? I see you thinking.
Oh, I'm always thinking.
I know you are.
Well, so I hear your perspective, and I completely agree about event tech companies just not at all being what we need. And I feel, as a planner myself and someone who's always talking to planners, I also feel that it's on the other side too. We talk to planners all the time who are like, I'm saying, what do you want out of your next thing? We just want a mobile app. I'm like, it's 2025 almost. What out of a mobile app would you like? We just want them to be able to connect. It's like they're trying to solve, and I feel like they're trying to solve problems with events, thinking technology is the answer. And half the time, I think technology can't even be the answer. And then you're dealing with the fact that the products themselves are not always that great. They're not willing to work with each other. They're not comprehensive solutions. They all kind of come at it. So I guess my question to you is what you're seeing on the planner side as well, and some of the struggles that we are seeing in terms of the planners thinking outside the box, similar to what we were just talking about with Claus, that like, okay, let's move on. What else?
That's really outside the box, like a different type of box from what I heard in the last few minutes.
I don't think it's a box anymore. I think we need to like create something else. It's a different shape. It's not a freaking box anymore.
I just connected for the last 5 minutes, so I didn't get the full conversation, but the last 5 were definitely entertaining. So no, great question right there, Liz. I feel that when I started Bold Push like a couple of years ago, I was out of Hopin and not Hope, but Hopin. And I started Bold Push and I was like, okay, I'll probably start like a little bit of, secluded type of analysis for the tech industry. And then it became evident how I needed to push out content to be out there. And I was like, oh my God, do I have to do content again? Like I did for Event MB for like 15 years. Oh my, this is like again. So I was like, all right, okay, I'll start doing content. So what am I going to talk about? Things have changed so much in the past 4 years. What I found out was that actually the same topics that I was speaking about for like 15 years at Event MB, still like the biggest ones. And that made me think, right, why are these still the big topics in the events industry? Why things like ROI and measuring like whatever happens, measuring mobile apps, like stuff like you talk about these things and everybody goes like, yeah, there's still no way to track ROI. From a planner perspective, I've met a ton of people that have solved these issues like 10 years ago. So there's not like a unified industry. I feel that that's the next step for us as an industry. I think a lot of that sort of induction needs to be with associations and certifications and all that to actually instill more of the technology culture around it. Because honestly, if we keep like making the same choices when it gets to tech, like nothing is going to change. Like nothing will ever change on the ROI front. If we don't change our meeting design and change the way people interact on a show floor, still people are going to say, oh, conferences are boring. If we don't change the partners you work with, your coffee is going to be crap, and that's that. And your Wi-Fi is not going to work, and that's that. But you keep going on that venue in Las Vegas because it's Vegas and whatever. And so you're still having the same issue. So I feel that's what needs to change at a very high level. And technology is a huge part of that mentality of like, okay, let's actually take the whole structure. Sometimes some of my clients do it with me. I'm sure they do it with you all as well in this call. They come to you and say, okay, I want to change. Help me out guide this change because like this is not working for us anymore. Like I cannot justify the attendee hate it. The exhibitors hate it. Everybody hates it. I cannot justify this to my boss. So it gets to a stage where people just can't deal with it anymore and they want to change the whole stack. And that's where they make a change. At least they try to change something in the way they think about their technology stack. But like before then, I think we can make a step back and say, okay, what is actually not working? Go back to our technology provider and say, listen, this is a buyer's market right now. Technology companies are desperate to get your business right now. So go back to your provider and say, I'm going to take my money away next year. So what are you going to do now to keep me on board? I think that type of conversation needs to happen.
Well, and I mean, I also think when we speak to clients, when they want to change a mobile app, it becomes a domino effect where it's like, then you have to look at their event management system, et cetera. But it's at a point where they've already mentally designed their events or their portfolio on what was done in the past, but yet they want to change it without really taking technology first into consideration or looking at what it has been going on. But so here's the other thing. So you have it from both sides, from Liz's side, from the planner side, but Liz is unique because Liz has a tech head, like she's nerdy, right? There's not a lot of nerdy event techie people within the organizations. I think the other challenge that we're going to start seeing is about all the acquisitions and the mergers and that we're getting, like, CDS from Freeman being bought by Merritt's. And I have one client that's like, holy shit, what are we doing now? What does that mean? And this is where their mind like just explodes. But with all of this, how is it going to be dealt? It's just going to make that runway longer. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, those acquisitions, I heard the same about Jiffle now with Cvent, to be honest. Like when the acquisition happened, a lot of people, when I announced it on LinkedIn, didn't announce it, but like I mentioned it, there was a lot of people in the comments going, oh my God, what is that? Like shock because obviously it's not like they don't know Cvent and they did make a decision to go with Jiffle now because they knew what was happening out there. So this is like the problem, right, in the market. So like we make a lot of choices right now because we don't want that and we want something else. And so obviously the bigger guys understand that thinking and say, okay, I need those people that didn't want me. There's no way to get them with our marketing. the only way to get them is by buying that company. And so it's a marketing operations in many cases to get more audience, because you have to justify growth. You have to keep on growing. Well, first off, so one of the things I predicted a few years ago that didn't happen at all was a bigger volume of acquisitions in the past year and a half. But like the huge impact that tech has suffered in the past year or so in terms of depression, like I think we're feeling it in the industry as well, with very less acquisitions that I thought were going to happen. The only company acquiring is Cvent, and it's very small acquisitions for the time being. It's not nothing huge or revolutionary. Like they're not buying Rainfocus for now.
We're gonna take this snippet right here. Like, okay, all right. Did you guys hear it here first? All right.
Well, they have some things they have to deal with before, and we're gonna stop it at that. But but like that would be monumental, right? That would be something else. Like that's what I was expecting to a certain extent. A lot of that happened for virtual companies, like if you're a virtual planner that does mostly virtual with some in person, your life, it's a nightmare right now, because like you invested in tools and like they're shutting down. Like all of a sudden it's like, sorry, can't do this anymore. After being at trade shows and saying how committed they were for the events industry, all of a sudden they're no more. So that's unbelievable what we're seeing there. But like going back to your point and making it quick, I feel that yes, it is a big problem. Some companies are better than others at integrating tools. So know that as well. Some companies have been doing it for a while. They understand the complexities. They understand how people get upset. So they can make educated, they have teams to integrate. So sometimes like, it's not like, obviously, if it happens at a lower level, and obviously I'm referring to Cvent, they know how to do it, but right? But like, that doesn't mean they're going to be bulletproof all the time. Some others on the smaller front, I'm more concerned about those, like 2 medium companies that get together. And we've seen the results of that on the market. And again, I'm going to stop it at that. I'm not going to make any names there. I still have a house. I have to pay mortgage.
And yes, I get it. Bruno, you have any questions?
A
ton.
Okay, I'm going to be the first one to bring this up, and everyone can do a shot if they want to. But Julius, how has AI affected your business? And how has it affected the way that you ideate, and also how you think about the future of event tech?
I love that question. Thank you. It also gives me the opportunity. I spent probably 100 hours researching the second part of our event. This is an event for our Bold Push Plus community. This is like a members community that I run, where I do sort of dedicated events, and I publish sort of my more advanced research. And next Thursday, we're having a second installment on an AI for events. I call it masterclass. I spent literally a ton of time on it. I don't think I've ever spent that much time on a single topic in event tech before. And so a lot came out of my research that sort of, I was like, okay, interesting. This is like changing things. So the time-saving opportunity that we have with AI, it's paramount. Also, you asked me how it affected my business specifically. My business is around content, media, and consulting, right? And so in that case, I used to do the same things that I do now with probably 1 person, 2 people max. I used to do them with 10, 12 people 10 years ago. So, without the tools that we have today, I wouldn't be able. A lot of people ask me, like, how do you make it to run this much by yourself? Well, that's thanks to a lot of the tools that I use. And it's not necessarily a ChatGPT type of AI. It's more like the Canva drag and drop stuff, right? It's more like the recordings of the meetings and acting on those recordings immediately for consulting calls. I mean, recording the whole calls, passing them through AI, getting the actions out of it. It's almost like sometimes I feel like I'm stealing money when I do consulting. It's like, it makes it so easy to then look at like whatever you discuss and say, okay, this is what matters. I can focus on this. I don't have to spend 5 hours researching all of this and trying to remember or look at my awful notes. So, it actually makes a ton of sense and is adding a lot of value. From an event perspective, I'm building custom GPTs for my events. So when you attend my event, you have access to my custom GPTs. And what it means is like as a small version of ChatGPT trained on my frameworks and what I do with my clients and stuff like that. So I built one. So here's an interesting one for you. I want your feedback on it. I built one yesterday where you submit your event plan and you have a CEO, a sponsor, an attendee, and a team member feeding back on that plan and playing devil's advocate from their perspective. So all of a sudden, instead of like getting an event plan from ChatGPT, she's like, what is it going to give you? Like if you work in events and like you need a plan from ChatGPT, change job. Like, because honestly, like that's never going to add value. But what if ChatGPT can play the role of someone else and give you feedback on what you're doing and say, listen, did you think about the ROI? Did you think about how we're going to implement this from an operational perspective? Did you think about my maximization of my sponsorship presence? How am I going to do this? So I think like getting feedback about it. I used to have an editor that used to do that for my pieces. Now I submit it to ChatGPT. I immediately get feedback and say, okay, tone that down a little bit because it can cause controversy. Do that in a better way because it's not clear. Add a call to action there because you forgot. That sort of thing, I feel it's invaluable. And then like more practical applications. Obviously, I review some of the tools and I tried, the Give Me, session. What is it called? It's not they rebranded.
Snapsites?
Yeah, those. I mean, it's, I feel it's like the basis of a great product. Let's put it that way. The recaps and the insights, hit and miss. And honestly, like you can't afford hit and miss at events.
No, that's true. But like what I would say though is it's giving organizers something to think about when it comes to content design, as well as how to do things just a little bit differently. Like when I'm talking to actually even event organizers now, and we speak quite a bit, the four of us at shows, where I'm like, I need us to record our entire presentation, even if it's audio, even if it's on Otter or Snapsite, and then put it in a workbook or worksheets and then give it back to the attendees, or create FOMO to those that didn't attend and say, here's a snippet of what you missed. But it's like, oh, that's a great thought. Like for us, it's like, okay, we can do that now with Snapsite. That's what I think it's like. It's encouraging people or like event or content designers to do something differently. So
let me say one more thing, Dalia, real quick to finally answer the question that Michelle asked. I feel that this is like great, the Snapsite, the recordings, the meetings, like it's like still like at the very start of this.
Yes,
what I'm looking for, it's an AI first event platform where setting up a page with those 60 registration types and stuff like that. It's like that. And we have a ChatGPT moment for event tech software. And that's going to be fun because all of these all-in-ones, whatever, they're going to be gone.
So are you designing event tech?
6 to 9 months, they're going to be gone.
So are you designing event tech?
I'm not. No, I'm not. Absolutely not.
You went through shows themes like way before everybody else did.
I did. That's why I'm not going to do it again. No, I just like, no, but I'm like, I'm just an observer of these things. I get excited about these things. But like, 6 to 9 months, AI first event tech that actually gives you an impression of like, oh my God. Yeah. And I've seen it. We've seen it happening. We've seen it happening for Slido, for Hopin, for Eventbrite. Whenever those people came around, there was a new market. And so when that happens with AI, that's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're into fun. We need more fun things. That's for sure. I have one more question before I let you go, because it is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. Do you really think event tech platforms, when they say they are all in one, that they are really all in one? Keep laughing because you know that they are not most of the time.
Of course I know. Absolutely. So, I actually, last time I published my event tech map, last week, in the comments, someone said the same thing. And I replied to them, of course, this taxonomy is out of desperation because I cannot deal with the personalities of some event tech CEOs that literally have to chill the F down. Like literally, guys, you have to chill. Like I've been exposed to insults, like everything for not listing.
You're going to need restraining orders.
Like, go back to the comments and read the amounts of insults I've been getting. I've been accused to be paid to do these things. I've been accused of, which is, by the way, When you tell me I'm getting money to list people on without disclosing, you're accusing me of like violating the law. So it's a big accusation you're making. So, stuff like that. So this is why I decided, hey, whatever, guys, you're all in one. Have fun in your all-in-one thing. Enjoy your stuff. But we all know this is not. So I put like 2-3 criteria, honestly, because I don't want to deal and babysit CEOs for event tech companies. That's the only reason why.
I think I have a request. So next time you put your map together, call it the Holy Grail.
I will. I will call it the Holy Grail.
This is the Holy Grail.
Stress,
like everybody's looking for the
away with this tech category, right? Is that it? Is that the marketing thing that is going on right now?
It's going to have like this big open space.
Technology is the stress reliever.
A Holy Grail and a question mark. Just leave it at that and see what happens.
Sorry,
Julius,
you invited me on Cut the
having
Shit, cue the genius, and I'm doing it. So
it is absolutely fantastic to have you on the show, and thank you for celebrating our 100th with us. This was
congratulations
fantastic. Awesome. So at least we got the all-in-one in, because that was a big thing. It's a pet
and the
peeve,
landscape.
right? Holy cow! So, one thing that I know that we didn't have time to talk about, but the three of us have been talking about it, is, when we're looking at event tech, or like our geniuses are looking at event tech and they're really laser focused only on event technology, it's going to come real quick and it's going to bite people in the ass, where we're going to have to look at MarTech as well. And that is a bigger world and a bigger pond. I mean, you can't get away from it anymore. You can't get away from saying, oh, I'm looking at event tech, but MarTech, I have HubSpot, I have Salesforce, I have this and I have that. I mean, I think Microsoft, Google, all of those are going to become almost like MarTech, or part of the entire tech stack. And I think that's when event planners, their heads are going to spin. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that those companies, I mean, the mainstream companies who are not serving, I think that's one of the biggest issues, is the companies who build only for the events industry. And the things that that the events industry is drawn to are things like Zoom. They didn't want 5,000 other virtual platform tools with sponsor capability. Zoom innovated and changed it a little bit, enough to make it what most people wanted. Most of our clients were like, yeah, that's good enough. I don't care about all this other stuff. And yeah, I think we're going to get past the point of everything has to integrate with Salesforce, and those companies are going to have the other side of the tool we're looking for. We're not going to be integrating with an event tech. So I think those days are short-lived, honestly.
Well,
and
I'm waiting.
We have to rethink events as being its own little industry and its own category and its own thing, because really it has to fit into the marketing plan and the sales team, and it has to be a bigger thing, which then makes the tech, obviously it fits in there better when you're not as an isolated thing.
I totally agree. Event tech should be part of MarTech. It actually is. Melanie, you're right. Carrie, you're absolutely right. A lot of times when people put lists together and all of a sudden some of them are RIP, or they're bought by Cvent or somewhere. I do think my crystal ball when it comes to tech is that we're going to have Google, HubSpot, Salesforce, and even like Amazon and even Microsoft buy event tech and then try to integrate it within their ecosystem. And then you heard it here first. You don't think so, Bruno?
No, I don't agree. I think by and large, most event tech is not as advanced as HubSpot. And
so do you think like Microsoft, a HubSpot, Google, and Microsoft would try to build their own type of event tech?
Yeah, I think that they could probably take existing components and just, customize them and be good enough, like Liz said.
All right, then I'll owe you a bottle of champagne, but I think HubSpot is going to be the first to buy something. Maybe.
But Dalia, you and I were in the room when the guy from HubSpot said events are stupid. He said trade shows are not as effective as like HubSpot marketing and inbound marketing. And everyone was like, what? We're all in the event space. You kidding
Yeah.
me? He changed his mind since then, but he did think that a while ago.
Well, let's see. I'm gonna bring in my intuition, and this is what like the Egyptian is feeling right now. And speaking of feelings, our next guest is the Shannon D'Souza. So tanned, so amazing. Because I have been stalking her from Greece all the way in Italy and all the way in Paris and da 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 da. But welcome back, Shannon. And
My 6-week world tour. Yes, my European tour. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I was like in the back, like I wanted to get in on the conversations that Julius is having and the crystal ball. And I could just go on and on with what I think is going to happen. But, I'm not here for that.
So Shannon, this is like the touchy-feely woo-woo. Someone has been like recently telling me, oh, you have so much woo-woo and you have so much like energy and your blah is like, you are so different. And I'm like, oh, okay. Leanne is going to actually resonate with this, but we are talking about my human design. Ooh. And who else can talk about my human design other than Miss Shannon D'Souza, all tanned and amazing. But also it is, I do want to throw it out there because a lot of people from a professional side, business side, they're like, why are people tapping into numerology? Why is people tapping into my human design or like these type of, and people sort of think of it as like, oh, this is too spiritual. This is too, manifestation or like all of this. I use it all the time, but I have also seen corporations bring on on payroll numerologists to help them from a company perspective. So, Shannon, your task in the next 20 minutes is to talk about my human design and what it means as an operating system roadmap for professionals such as you, myself, for everybody here. And then we're going to put the URL in the chat so that everybody can figure out what the hell their profile is. You need to know location of birth and birth date and time, correct?
Correct.
All right.
For those who don't know what human design is, like let's take a step back. It combines astrology, I Ching, Kabbalah, the chakra system, and quantum physics. So this was developed in the 80s as a way to kind of bring all these modalities together to like better understand who we are. I am not a human design expert. I don't go around doing readings for everyone, but I am using it in my business with my clients, helping them build teams specifically around hiring and to see like, would this person be a good fit? Because we all know one bad apple can ruin the whole bunch. And so how we do hiring today, it can be very like 3D, very one-dimensional, and everyone knows how to, answer questions well. So why aren't we taking it a step deeper? Why aren't we looking at like another layer and often identifying who this person truly is? And I've never given this reading to someone and someone saying, this is completely wrong. 99% of people I've given this to have said, wow, like this is me right on the money. So Dahlia, when I read her human design, I was like, of course, this is so you. So the first thing Dahlia is she's a manifesting generator. And so at the very top, there's the type. There are 5 types. And so this is going to be a generator, a manifesting generator. So those two are of the same like stem. And these are 70% of the world. I am a generator. Our job is to bring light and energy into the world. And how we do that is we really just need to be focused on what we love to do. So when you give me admin tasks, that dulls my light. Like you give me something I don't want to do, immediately you're going to see like, she hates this. Like, and I struggle with it and I put it off and I don't want to do it and it's not going to be done well and it needs to be edited. And so if we go into, for example, jobs, knowing this about a person, you're going to be like, okay, let's just activate them in a different way where they want to do the tasks that they're interested in and good at. And so then they're going to produce more, right? So Dahlia, being a manifesting generator, this, I like to liken it to people who have like ADHD. They often want to do 1,000 different projects at a time. People who are not manifesting generators, we're always trying to tell them like, Dahlia, slow down. Just focus on one thing. Finish that one thing, right? I bet everyone tells you to do that. And Liz.
So Vivian is in the back right now, and Corey, and they're saying, holy shit, now we know why she is the way she is.
So her
and
job.
Bruno and Liz as well. But by the way, I do have to like just preface, this is how Cut the Shit actually started, if you guys remember. So carry on.
In my tenure of knowing Dahlia, like every month she has a new idea. They're all brilliant. They're all fantastic, but she needs integrators. She's not the person to bring it to life. That is not her job. Her job is to get all of these pieces and like disperse it to her team and get that going. So manifesting generators, if you're that person, you cannot focus on one thing, and you're not meant to. So as soon as I started working with clients and them understanding their human design and they're like this, and I attract a lot of manifesting generators, surprisingly, I have just surrendered to, okay, let me hear all your ideas. Like, let me hold space for you. And then we can prioritize them into like ABC. And I try to work with that as opposed to making them wrong for having all these plans and ideas and wanting to do like 17 campaigns at one time. So that's the first piece there. Then the next thing is we're going to go into lines, and it's lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first 1, 2, 3 are internal lines. The 4, 5, 6 are more external lines. The first number you have is how the world sees you. The second number you have is how you see yourself. So Dahlia is a 5-1. So she has an external number first, and then she has an internal number second. So the world sees her as this like, extrovert, but she truly sees herself as that introvert. Is that, talk to me about that.
So I am an extrovert, but the introvert is like, I push ideas out, I push energy out, I do, and then I have to take back. So yes. I have to take my moments of being an introvert, and it's like replenishing. It's also recharging. But yes, I am an introvert between my spurts, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So my numbers are 4, 6. So those are 2 extroverted numbers. I do love like having that recharge moment, but I can go more extroverted than others. Whereas some people might be like a 3-1 or a 1-3, and they're just introverted numbers, right? So a 5-1 is actually called the challenge solver. So it is no surprise that she gets calls all the time from who knows where and what around the world to solve some sort of problem. And then she actually goes and solves the problem. Like, so when I read that, I was like, yeah, that makes complete sense. I was actually surprised you didn't have a 4. And the 4 is the people person. Big on relationships, big on connection. They're often really, really good at sales. So I was like shocked that there was no 4 there. But then when I saw this, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So let's get deeper into the 5. The 5 is the liberator. Okay. So no surprise again, you make your own shapes. There's no box you can put Miss Dahlia in. She doesn't exist in her life. And the liberator, like their job, yes, they can try to fix everything for everyone, but their true job is to recognize themselves as the power that they are and not what everyone is trying to put them in. Mm-hmm. Like they just have to appreciate themselves. And that's the work that you're on to do that truly. So that's the 5. The 1 is the knowledge seeker. So no surprise, you're always up with what's going on in tech, what's the newest thing, what this book to read, this podcast to listen to. Like you're constantly inundating yourself with information because you're seeking that so that you can then bring it back to everyone else, because that is your work to do, is to enlighten and educate. Now, when we put these 2 together, you are exactly it says, you're dependable. You're that person that everybody can then come to because you're constantly curious about what is going on in the world, and you're not going to settle for information that doesn't make sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just not going to happen. You're going to keep searching and going for things. So it's perfectly placed for you to be in roles to come up with creative solutions. So now do you see how this is making sense for you to be a manifesting generator, where you constantly want to work on a whole bunch of different things because you have that energy to do it?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it that, it has a different way of looking at yourself and others and how you are being perceived. Carrie says this is very similar types of results as the Berkman method. Have you tried the Berkman method, Shannon?
I have not.
So this is what I wanted to ask, is because, my human design, how does that work, or what do you see it work almost from a professional side, right? In regards to, does it tag on to like skills assessments, that we are used to? Does HR need to like take a look at how to infuse that within team members or with leaders, et cetera? Because you're going to have a lot of people, and I think it's also with different generations or different people that are into energy and into, numerology and all of that exist within a company. And for them to really maximize on that energy from a team perspective is to understand the human like span.
1,000%. It doesn't matter what title we give it. It's just about being open to learning and
Yeah.
seeing people. And one of the biggest challenges in organizations is that we're truly not connected at the human level. And when we get to that place, that's where we can work better together, because it's not about Carol and Carol is in charge of payroll and you're mad about something that Carol did. It's like understanding who Carol is as a person, and that maybe if she is a reflector picks up the energy of everyone around them. And if she's in a very toxic environment, she's going to pick up that toxic energy, and now she's going to be giving it out to people. So now we know Carol shouldn't be on that team because she's too sensitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can put Carol in a different role or a different, like, whatever, right?
So what do you say to like leaders or new leadership where they might think that this is too touchy-feely? It's like, what the hell are you talking about, Shannon?
Well, I would say, like, do you think AI is fake? Do you think social media is not real? Like, the world is changing.
Yeah.
And the consciousness is rising. Like, if you look at relationships, the amount of relationships, whether it be in work, people are just quitting for no reason without a job, or marriages are failing because one person's like, I deserve better than this, and I'm going to make a change in my life without a plan. That's what's really going on in the world. So if you want to stay blind, ignorant, that's on you. And it's going to be a reflection of your organization and the results. And to me, I always care about the bottom line, and I care about sales, and I care about revenue, and I care about those pieces. And if that truly is like what the goal of the organization is, then we need to look at different modalities we've never looked at before.
No, that's perfect. Liz and Bruno, what do you guys think of this?
It reminds me of the book about strengths, where you selected your different, you put yourself in categories in terms of strengths. And I found it very useful and really helpful to kind of understand not only what I'm good at and bad at, but how to approach others that I'm in on a team with or in an environment with, to let them know you're dealing with whatever on the string. And that was years ago. So I like different ways of looking at humans and where they should be and what they're going to excel at. But when you first started talking, I thought of Jim Collins' Good to Great, where it's like you got to put the right people in the right seat on the bus.
Yep.
Put your team in the right seat on the bus. So yeah.
That's hiring is only one way. How I work with human design with my clients is in their marketing. And a lot of people can't do marketing or sales because they feel out of alignment or out of integrity. And so if we can figure out how to activate their voice through their own human design, which is what I did on my retreat in Greece with them, then they can show up and tell their story so much more effortlessly. So that's a completely other way of using it. But Michelle, I liked how you talked about strengths. So in human design, we have gifts. So typically on average, you're going to get an array maybe from 15 gifts to 25 gifts is the highest I've ever seen. And so some of the gifts that Dahlia has are marching to her own rhythm, creating closeness with others, listening and collecting stories, improvement, truth telling, magnetic charisma, intentionality, impact, sharing the take on the facts of life, inner knowing. So to me, like knowing Dahlia so well, like these are all of this makes complete sense. I've experienced each one of these with her, so it's no surprise. So I like that for these other types of, I guess, we have to self-select. Here, I like that it's been given to us and we can kind of say like, yes or no, do I identify with that?
Liz, what do you think? Have you done your human design profile yet, or you're gonna?
I have not.
Can I tell you, I have a feeling Craig is doing it for you right now.
He would, yeah, he probably is. He probably
Liz, what's your zodiac sign?
I'm on the line between Leo and Cancer, I think.
Okay, so you just had your birthday, or you're about to have your birthday.
Yeah. So I guess depending on where I look, it says like the 22nd of the month, and the 23rd is like the end and start date.
Yeah.
I'm on the 23rd, and I have no clue what that means, to be honest with you. I don't think about any of that, but I like what you said. I mean, I do believe that obviously we all have skills and that it's important to put the right people in the right places and to understand each other and to work together in that way. So that makes total sense to me. And the part that you were talking about, humans have changed and relationships have changed. I feel this very strongly, and I've talked about it on the show before. I've talked about it, I think all three of you, about, I think that we're going to see people pulling away from social media even more. We're going to see people pulling away from events even more. We're going to see, and I think that that's something that is changing very quickly. And I'm trying to figure out where exactly that's going, but I think it's a lot about people want more authentic relationships. They want to be stepping into relationships where they feel like they can be themselves. And there's so much fake and imposter syndrome. And there's just all this junk out there that I think people are tired of. And I think that's going to be huge impact, not only on our hiring and whatever, but like on our whole industry, the events that we run, and the reason why people get together and what they want that to look like. I'd be surprised if conferences are happening in the way they are now 10 years from now.
I hope they're not, because I don't think it's going to last.
I don't think I don't think they will be as strong as, the organizers think they are if we are continuing to treat the attendees as we have been and not changing and bringing in some sort of like the emotional elements, the networking, like Claus was talking about, like the change in, learn, or like session, or, and not bringing that type of, for some it's touchy feely, but it truly is consciousness. And I think that, this is where it has to be intentional event design, or you will lose them.
Intentional is the word. And I think that's why there's been the rise of the retreat. They're very intimate, they're experiential, there's an awakening, there's all sorts of different types of things. And I know that I've been seeing like executives creating this for their communities, their groups, their departments. I could see that being, instead of the big like sales kickoff, maybe there's these smaller portions.
Yeah. So Sean is a manifesting generator, which is fantastic. Megan, we're going to post the link one more time so you can do your human design profile. Rachel, to answer your question, and yes, Egyptians a lot of times have double birthdays. Do not ask me why. That's a different session altogether. The birthday that I used with Shannon is my true birthday, which is February 28th, 1969. And no, I am not a leap year baby. Do the math, even though it says March 1st, but that's something totally different. But this is something I would like it. It would be super cool if we had a My Human Design like meetup, and maybe we can make it happen at IMAX. just putting it out there to the universe and see if anybody wants to do it. That would be absolutely freaking fantastic. And Carrie Holmes says, how about we put that on the name badge? So that's a full circle.
Oh, wow. That'd be so cool. Oh my God. We would just have different conversations if that was happening. We would just like connect so deeply.
Yeah.
One of the things we haven't touched on, but human design actually in your profile, and this is different from any other type of test you're going to take, it will give you your actual life's purpose. And I was shocked but not at mine. Mine is to build community. And it is no surprise my whole life. I've always been like that person who are bringing people together, creating events, now doing retreats, things like that. So for you, Dahlia, yours, and this is not a surprise at all, yours is to help people coexist better.
Yep. And scene. This has been absolutely fantastic. I love it. I love it. Love it. Well, thank you for joining us. And thank you for bringing all of this amazing energy, because that's what you do. It's absolutely fantastic. And I do hope and wish that, and Kenji might actually be the first one to do this with his team, is for us to, as leaders, to think of what we can do better in regards to making our teams feel fulfilled, feel heard, seen, and felt. And this is a segue to go from Shannon to our next guest, most amazing. And Shannon knows Deborah. Who doesn't know Deborah? But we are bringing Deborah Sexton on next. And here she is. I have to match Deborah because Deborah has kick-ass glasses. So we are matchy right now. Deborah, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. But I'm not sure coming after these three dynamic speakers is a fair deal. That's all I want to. I just want to start with that. However, I had two things I want to say. Julius mentioned, he finally explained to me my tech challenges. I always thought it was just because I was old, but I'm so thrilled that I can now say it's because I'm old guard. It sounds so much nicer. I'm going to use it all the time now. I'm old guard. And that'll answer the question. And I'm thrilled with that. I think that's fabulous. Also, I have one quick story following Shannon. And that is, I remember going to, and so what I want to say is any new tools that we can use to help us is phenomenal. So I'm behind anything and all of those things if they're of help to individuals. And I think that's great. I remember, however, about 15 years ago, going to the ASAE CEO seminar, one-day course. And that was to have the volunteer CEO or chairman work with the paid CEO of the organization to compare and to help them understand one another to work forward. And the particular chairman, I will not tell you who it was, that particular chairman, unfortunately, thought that we were identical in how we approach things and blah, blah, blah. And this went on most of the day. Oh, is that how you think? Okay, I think that way too. In the meantime, we were absolute opposites. But this, in the beginning of the day, I thought this is going to be a very long day because I don't know quite how to approach this because we're starting at a bad point here. We're not, because we're thinking differently, so to speak. Anyway, Shannon's new programs could maybe have eliminated that. We could have taken the program first and started at a different level, which would have been great. Also want to thank you guys for inviting me, this person that's been missing for a while. And
you haven't been missing.
Well, yeah, but I haven't been.
I have to say, so first and foremost, let's back up a second, because for those that don't know Deborah Sexton, Sexton is past president of PCMA and has led teams with Chicago, with PCMA, and has been an amazing voice in the industry. And I miss you. We miss you. And for those that know Deborah and miss, I mean, Rachel is having goosebumps right now. So there you go. And I know that you think you're retired. Hell to the no, you're not. because I know that you've been working behind the scenes and helping people, especially in associations and so forth, because of your leadership expertise, because of your energy, because of the way you listen. And so I'm blessed and we're grateful that you're with us here today. What I wanted to ask you about is because I also think that leadership within the events industry in different organizations, in different sizes of organizations, we're not going to name associations or whatever, on the supplier side, on the supplanter side, on the planner side, the leadership is going so fast that they are losing people along the way. And I think they're also losing their way of leading. So give us a little bit of what needs to be revisited. What worked for you when you were at the helm of like the organizations that you were with?
Yeah, this is obviously a very big question.
It's huge.
And I think part of the problem is that we're getting ourselves into those traps of just moving as fast as we can, taking on as much as we can as organizations, as teams, and not taking a deep breath and saying, no. We really have to focus on, the key elements that are going to affect success leading towards our vision. So let's kind of start with that. But I will get to empowering your team, but I keep going back to Shannon, thinking my job and what I did might be changed completely if we can just get everybody to participate. It'll make life easier. But assuming that they're not all going to do that right away, which is typical of our industry, I think we should talk about a little bit about, what is a good leader. And certainly I don't know the answers to all of that, but I know things that I'll state that I think are important. And then how do you pull a really good team together, which with the new norm after COVID is even harder than it was before.
Mhm.
So that's adding new challenges to all of what we do. And I think that's an important point, but we have to work with it. So we have to figure out how to get around it and continue to create great, solid collaborating teams that feel that their contributions are making a difference to the organization, so that they want to get up every day and get into the office, regardless of how hard the work is. But we'll get to that. So you talk a little bit about leadership. Well, I think a perfect example is your first three speakers. They are very passionate people. They're passionate about this industry. They're passionate about what they do and how they might be able to help others. And I think that's the one top point for a good leader. I think communication skills are critical for a leader. They've got to always be able to communicate both verbally and written communications, face-to-face and written communications. Sorry, see, I've been out of the business for a while. Anyway, and they have to be clear on those communications. But most importantly, they have to make sure that their team members all understand what the organization's vision is and how they play a critical role in that success. Any leader that thinks that they can do this on their own is really a sad situation, because no leader can accomplish success for an organization on their own, period. Right. It just doesn't work. But there are some that still think that way, which is unfortunate. We need forward thinkers in leadership. We want people to always be thinking about where are we going and how are we going to get there. Take advantage of past, understanding where mistakes might have been made, but don't dwell on it, because there's not a whole lot you can do about it. We're moving so fast that we have to stay focused on the future. I think another key element is that we need diverse views on our teams. So as we're hiring and bringing people together, we need to think about how the various ways that team members are going to think differently, right? Challenge their own team members to understand their perspectives. And I think that's a really, you don't want everybody to look like you. And I don't mean just look, but think like you. You've got to get people thinking in many different ways. We again have to have a very clear vision and be able to communicate that. I think we have to have people that'll challenge the norm, ask the question, why? Why do we do it this way? And that was the most fun that I had, because I had a lot of people saying why, and I loved it, because that's what we have to always do. Why do we do it? And analyze it and change it. And
well, and I think, and to that point, Deborah, I mean, those 3 C's, right? The clear vision, the communication, and the challenge the status quo. And I think what I hear quite a bit, and I think we all hear this, is where the C-suite or a board, advisory board, or committees, for example, on an association side, they just don't have the patience or don't want to hear it, right? Because it's going to cause change. And, you know, but we've been talking about this for a long time, is like, well, you want to change. You freaking asked for the change, and we're bringing it to you. And now you're like putting the kibosh on it. What the hell is wrong with you people? So now what? Like, what do we do with that?
Well, I mean, it's like when you walk into somebody's office, or they walk into your office, and they say, I've got an idea. And they go like this, like, oh my God, that means work. That means we've got to start a whole new project over here. And that's so wrong, because you got to listen to these ideas to make that change, and to also make the work environment exciting. And I think that's very important. The other C that you're missing is celebration.
Yes.
And I think we have to celebrate not only successes, but advancement or a change in how we do something that will give us more time to focus on maybe new ideas, or personal time, or whatever that may happen to be. There's so many things we can celebrate. And so often we're moving so fast that we don't take the time to celebrate. And I've got to tell you, when we got close to convening leaders, we were moving so fast that I was lucky to know what day it was. And so were the team members. And sometimes we missed some of those opportunities in the most critical time, which was when everybody was stressed, to say, hey, wait a minute, time out. Look at what we just did. Look at we changed a norm that in the industry. Look at how we're going to be able to showcase this. It was very exciting to watch that. And there's one other point, and I know I'm just kind of pulling things, and that's my...
No, I think it's all good. It's all C's.
But, you know...
And Bruno loves alliteration.
That's good. That's absolutely great. People don't really know how powerful and strong they are. When you push someone to get something done, and oftentimes the first reaction is, we're not going to be able to do that, or I can't do that. When they accomplish it, and they accomplish it 90% of the time, they sit back and go, wow, I did that. And it's so exciting to be around and watch people that just kind of go, whoa, I would have put money on the fact that I couldn't have accomplished that. And they do. And that's a very exciting opportunity for both the team member, the team, and the organization to watch that kind of thing happen. Now you go into, I think, leadership. Anyway, there's lots of different forms of leadership. Dahlia, you're that embracing, hugging, nurturing kind of a leader. Every leader isn't like that. But no. I believe that the most important thing a leader has to share is that I will take care of you. I will protect you. I want you to take risks periodically. I want you to move and try to challenge the norm. And don't worry, I'm behind you all the way. They may not be nurturing. That just might not be their style. And there's nothing worse than somebody trying to be something that they're not, because people see it in about 6 seconds.
It's not authentic.
Yeah, it's not authentic, and they know it. And so then they stop listening, as opposed to say it as it is. If you're not that type, just tell them, I've got you.
Yep.
I'm not a huggy person, but I got you. So you don't have to worry about it.
I'm a huggy person.
Right. But that's tough for leaders to do, but they should do it.
Yeah.
Maybe one-on-one, maybe to the team. I don't care, but they need to prove and demonstrate that they will support the efforts of their team. And if they do that, that's a good leader.
So
then-
we're gonna this has all been like amazing. Someone is keeping saying preach, preach, preach. This is so good. This is so good. Bruno, do you have any questions or thoughts right now?
I do. Deborah, this has been a huge conversation in our nation right now,
Yep.
ageism.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what you think about whether and how or if it has impacted the event industry.
Oh, for sure. And I'll tell you how. And I probably shouldn't but well, who cares? I'm already retired, so it's okay. There are a lot of people that I've watched over the years. This is not something that just happened yesterday. Over the years that get to, a couple of years before they're going to retire or go and do something else, and they stop doing what they should be doing. Because they're just there. They don't want to rock the boat. You've got to rock the boat to do good things going forward, to make changes, to keep your organization vibrant and moving. And when they pull back, it's so clear to the team that I think that, hey, that person's on their way out, and I don't have to do it. So I do think age is a major thing. Now, do I know, is it 71? Is it 61? Is it? No, I don't know that. But I think organizations' boards should truly look at the CEOs and others that and evaluate them on a year-to-year basis. I unfortunately I actually had 3 jobs that I kept for 13 years each. I don't know what that's all about, but it must have been something to do with my attention span. And I'm not saying I have a 13-year attention
I know what it has to do, but I'm gonna let you complete your.
But and it gets that way, and you need new blood to come in and talk about, well, why did we do it this way, or lead differently, or add different elements to it. So I think that needs to be analyzed, and I absolutely think there's a time for people to go, and I think when they go, Dahlia says I've stayed in it. I have communicated with people. I've tried to, I read publications, but not the way I used to. And I love watching what people are doing and trying to stay up to date, but you can't in the same way. And people would say to me, well, are you going to go to all these meetings? No, I'll do things behind the scenes, maybe if I can, or I'll be helpful. But I know that's disruptive. It's totally disruptive, and so I don't. But I'm not saying that's everybody's the same way. I just thought that it was the best way for me to move on, and which I did. But I love the industry, and believe me, my heart was broken at COVID as much as any of yours, thinking about all the trouble that transpired, but our industry did survive. I do believe we still have a challenge in the perception of what we all do when pulling together events around the world. And I think that, there's some people out there that are so talented and that have taken our industry to another level. And my goal would be to make sure that level is attainable by so many others that are joining us now. And now as a team member, I think one of the things you want to select, and maybe Shannon's system can help with this, and that is that you want people on your team that can also help lead smaller teams and nurture and showcase their strengths and their ideas and things of that nature. You can't, unless you're a group of 10, I don't think you can expect the CEO to lead those groups. You want them to be tiered and led by many different people on the team to get the best results. That's easy to say, by the way. And now that we're a lot of remote, let me just put this point in, and I'm kind of old-fashioned, although I had people working remote 25 years ago. But this remote is work. If it's truly total remote, it's very hard to create a culture and an environment of collaboration with the team. So we have to work harder at it if that's the case, and bring the teams together face to face whenever possible, so that they can really watch one another, how they think and what their decisions are and all. And I also think running a remote meeting is more important than ever before to keep it focused, keep time, but also allow for your 5-minute or 3-minute, or I don't know what it is. What I think you call it the kitchen conversation.
Or the water cooler kitchen.
Yeah, the stuff that you would be able to do with your team. I'm a person, but we're all different, that worked at home for a very, very short period of time. And I mean, I loved having people around. I just loved it. And so I was not good at working by myself alone on a regular basis. Some people and some jobs are better suited for that. So there's a whole mix there that's fine. And I recognize it. But I do think that we have to continue to try to expose our smaller teams to better ability to collaborate and to appreciate one another's thoughts and styles, etc. That's a real critical point, I think.
Fantastic.
Again, it's just, this is tech savvy Deb, but I'm sorry.
Liz, do you have any questions for Deborah?
I do, if we have time. Do we have time?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I read a statistic this week, and I'm not entirely sure where it came from, so fact check me later. But a statistic that said 74% of event planners are new to their jobs post-COVID, and of that group, 65% are totally new to the industry altogether. And I feel the pressures of that every day and what that means in everyday life as a planner. But I'm curious, with your background from PCMA, what you think that means for our industry from an education standpoint, because we've had a lot of people new to the industry who are maybe learning on the fly, learning from the old guard, whatever that means exactly. And I'm wondering what this means for associations and for other organizations who are trying desperately to help us move to the future. I could see good and bad things about this. Fresh blood, like you said, is always a good thing. It can also be an incredible challenge, as I stand at events watching AV teams like completely flub because they have no clue how to use a switcher for the first time. Yeah. Things that should be expected. So if you have time to share your thoughts on what that means for us.
Well, I have a couple of thoughts. First and foremost, organizations, both the industry organizations and the associations and corporations that the planners might be working for, all say we have great training. I could probably count on my fingers.
Can we call bullshit on that? Like, can I say bullshit for you? Because I know that you don't like to use profanity. So can we really just call BS on that right now?
So
you can? All right.
Yes, you can. So the onus then goes back to the industry organizations. And if they're not meeting what you need, and you have shared, you being your organization, you personally, the things that you need, I want more on this, and they ignore it, then you're going to have to, then I think you move on to something new or something else. And a lot of the education that you might need maybe doesn't have to be in the industry organizations. I would hope that they'd be smart enough not to let that happen, but it could happen, and it needs to happen. We need to be able to ascertain what's going on out there, because part of this newness is going to keep us in that category that we don't want to be in as it relates to what we do for a living, ultimately, when we become well-versed in how to execute an incredible event. It is not easy. It is very hard. That's why we attempted a business event strategist, because I think there is that tier. And what's interesting about that tier is that people come from all different areas of expertise. They're not just coming up through a planner. They might be coming across through marketing or through association or industry involvement. I mean, they add all these different skill sets. But if that's true, and 70% are brand new, we better freshen up real quickly some sessions that will address that in smaller groups. You don't need 3,000 people sitting in an audience listening to this. You need to attract smaller, make them affordable, and bring those people together and get some of our great business event strategists to help us with that, because they understand what's needed.
Yes.
But the frustration is there's going to be a day when these corporate entities and or association understand the value of what a business event strategist or a real meeting professional brings to the organization, not just the bottom line.
So that was your gold, because you always brought, no, I'm serious right now. And then Tracy and everybody else will realize this. You always brought people together. You always lifted them up. You always listened, and you always brought people in your team, like you said to me many, many times, that were smarter than you.
Oh, you better believe I
And so,
surround
like,
myself with smarter people.
And if we want to continue this and we don't want to have a brain drain within the industry, we have to work like Deborah used to work. So call it old guard. I don't like the word old, but because you look fabulous. But
Doesn't bother
I
me.
honestly think that is the gold right there, that people need to really laser focus and say, how are we doing this? Who's smarter than, than us leaders in our organization, or else we got to bring them in. And I love you so much, like so much. You know that. And it's not because you like tried to like tell my kids to get puppies all the time, which you have. And they still say, well, Deborah Sexton said I can have a puppy. I'm like, no. But I love you. And I thank you so much for being with us. This has been absolutely heartwarming. Like I'm in heaven right now. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
This was great. Thank you for including me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. All right. Whew. This has been a whirlwind, Liz. You ready for some magic?
I am ready. I'm very excited about this because this is
all right. So last but not least, we are bringing Greg on, and Greg and I had a holy shit moment with Cast Magic. Don't laugh. It's real. All right. Like it was a holy shit Cast Magic moment. And actually I have it in all my presentations now, but Liz is also a content queen. And so, Greg, you got a lot to showcase here, not to everybody that's like our geniuses, but especially to Liz. So, Greg, meet Liz. Liz, meet
Hello.
Greg, and let the magic happen.
Thank you so much. I mean, I don't know how I follow up the conversation you just had there. Like, I'm like, I'm the one I'm the closer. I'm bringing this home. Oh my God! Wow.
Do it.
You've got it. You've got it. I mean, we've been talking about AI in every little piece of the conversation today. And of course, it comes up all the time. And, Michelle, Dahlia, and I, we all love technology. And we even talked, I don't know if you caught it earlier, but talked a lot about how, we're looking for tech that's not just built for the events industry. And I remember the conversation very well about how event planners have to become content marketers back in like 2006, 2007, 2008. And no one liked that idea. But it's only accelerated from that point. I feel like as someone who is a planner and content generator, it's just overwhelming. So I have no better, I love meeting people like this. We're just like live on a podcast and we have to meet each other and learn what you're all about. So I did check out your website, but can you tell us more about Cast Magic and how it can save our lives? Because event planners we're ready for some
Save us, Greg. Save us.
So here's the backstory. Before I go into like what is Cast Magic, like from all of us that are in events, like I don't put on events, I attend events. And my biggest frustration is I attended this amazing event. Most events I attend, you're there for the networking. You're like, all right, you got us all in the room that we haven't seen, or I get to meet people. No matter how much I want to attend every panel and go like, oh, there's so much gold, like you just can't. And so then what ends up happening is you network, you leave this conference, you leave this event, you're like, so what did I learn? Well, I got all these business cards. I met all these great people. I maybe attended one meeting or one panel or one keynote. And you're like, I walked away. Now what? And then afterwards, the event, if we were lucky, is like, hey, we recorded it. We put it up online. Go watch it. I'm like, hold on. I just gave you a day, 3 days, 4 days, whatever it was. I'm behind in my work. I don't have the time to go and watch everything you just gave me. So wouldn't it be amazing if you could just repurpose that so it's digestible for me? So it's like, you know what? Here's all the panels that we filmed and recorded, and here's a link that gives you the breakdown summaries the takeaways, all those action items that you can just quickly scan. And then if you want to watch them, great, I can fast forward to the timestamp that you provided me of where that is. And that was ultimately my experience. So enter then Cast Magic. So Cast Magic takes any conversation and allows you to turn that into content like magic. And so for me, I attended a conference, had the exact experience I just described, came back to the founders. I'm like, hey, can we just create a profile so that any event would upload, and these, I think 8, and I'll show you, 8 items are automatically created. And then the host, meaning like you, maybe in this case, was able to send that out and be able to go, hey, everyone, here's the recording, here's notes, here's the ability for you to extract insights from it. And then you're able to go to your boss and go, hey, this is what I learned. The event people, we're all able to go, I can sell more tickets, because usually what ends up happening is like, I'm going to give you a baseline. And if you want the recordings, I'm going to sell this for a little more. You're like, well, now I'm able to offer more value. And I've got all this content that I'm able to repurpose, but also I can repurpose it quickly. And that becomes the other key piece, right? Like after, let's say it's a 3-day event. After day 1, someone's got to write an email like, these are the great things and the great takeaways. Like, did they attend all those panels? No, but what if you were able to feed it in there and able to do that? So I'll show you guys, but I kind of want to pause there because that's kind of the focus of this.
You're teasing us right now.
I'm
so
teasing.
like we don't do
You wanna
that.
see.
We don't do that on the
Okay.
show. Just go in.
Just go for it.
right
All
now.
right. Share my screen. I don't know. How do we do this? There we go. So this is Cast Magic. Ultimately, how do I bring content in here? You've got all these different ways. I can drag and drop. So from a content production standpoint, your AV team can go ahead and drag it in there. I know a lot of AV teams that live stream it, and they do it as an unlisted file, so they've got it quickly. So then you can take your YouTube, that's an unlisted YouTube link, and bring it in here, quickly upload it into it. Podcast, we've got Zoom, so if you're recording this over Zoom, however you've got, there's so many different ways to bring content in. Once the content's in here, here's an example. You label the speakers. So from a workflow standpoint, quick, get the content in. I label my speakers, and then we've got these 12 different profiles. I have one. This is literally it. I attended an event and came back and created this event profile so that it creates all this content out of the box for me. Questions, timestamps, pulls out quotes, lessons learned, and action items. And I'll show you this. But like, it could take your meetings, your coaching calls. So Cast Magic as a core is for all conversations. Specifically thinking from an event standpoint, I got the event profile set up here. Create an event profile. As you can see, I can have many spaces, each one with its own kind of profile. So if we look at what does that actually give me, this is what I created. So AI content is going to give me all those pieces of content that I would need. So expand, 1-sentence summary. It's literally taking that recording. It's taking that panel, that's keynotes, taking this conversation if we want it, and turning it into 1-sentence summary. Speaker bios. Every person comes up there and they introduce themselves. So instead of going like, hey, give me your bio, everyone's introducing. I'm now able to pull together what it says. So these 3 people that are on that panel, great. Key themes, like what are the takeaways, timestamps. I'm not going to go back home after an event and spend 50 minutes, or in this case, 30 minutes watching that, knowing like, is this valuable for me? Like, I love the subject of this, but like, was it really useful? You know what? Actually, this is what I needed. That 20-minute mark spoke exactly what I needed. Great. I can now go back and listen to it and watch it. Clip Finder, it's going to pull out quotes per each person. Key topics and bullet points, lessons learned, and action items. Like for me, those are the key takeaways. And then this last one, for you titles, you have the ability to create your own prompts, your own content. So Magic Chat, I haven't used it for this, but I could start asking like, write me a worksheet with fill in the blank questions for attendees to answer from this panel. And now I can go ahead and in seconds, here you go. Here's my worksheet, fill in a blank. My prompts, not the best. So it's fill in the blank instead of what I should have had is like a space for people to write. But now you get the idea. I now have an answer key. There we go. So if I want to make this a quiz, there you've got it. I can automate all this content. And then for me as the event that's putting this on, I have all this recording content that I can now start reproducing and creating all this new content, social posts, newsletters, anything I would want to create from this. And as the attendee or the panelist, this is what I cared about. You can use the share page, and it's just a website that anyone that has this is able to access. So now there's like, great, I can listen, I can watch if it was video, I can read, and I can quickly scan the content that I need. So for me, whole mindset here as an attendee and a speaker, I spoke, what was this, 8 months ago on an event. You asked me today what I said, what the 4 people next to me said. I couldn't tell you. But if you gave this to me as a panelist, I now am able to reproduce and talk about, these are the things I said at conference X, Y, and Z. So I'm always now talking more about the conferences I attended. You as the conference, the event organizer, you're able to reproduce and produce more content. So you're always talking about this. So it's evergreen stuff that's going on that you can, instead of 6 months later when your next conference is up, going like, everyone should attend this conference. This is all the great things that we talked about. And it's usually just an image, and it's usually like a little recap. Now you've got all this content that you're able to leverage and keep it going out there. So, and then you enable the magic chat feature. So the panelist or me as an attendee, I can start now asking what I may want to extract from that specific talk. And now I can start posting, because as an attendee, you're like, what did I learn? How do I get people start posting social media? So I'll pause there because I know I'm covering a lot, but like that is for me. If I was putting an event, I now have content to reproduce and constantly talk about. As a panelist, I now have a takeaway and content that I'm able to talk about what I just said on stage. And as a attendee, I now have more value because I'm able to talk about what is it that I attended, what did I miss, how do I scan quickly without having to spend hours and hours of consuming content that I don't have time for.
I'm seeing lots of brain mind blown emojis and wow comments from the people who are watching. I think it's amazing, of course, because all of this, and I've seen pieces of this on different platforms, but it's nice that you're kind of bringing it all together into one place where you can get the timestamps and the notes. And I mean, I think everyone kind of lost their mind when Zoom started doing the summary, not just the transcripts, but the summary. This is taking it to a whole nother level. I love the idea that you can generate and kind of create prompts to get more of the kind of content that you want. It's not just out of the box, like I get a one-liner and some bios and whatever, but you can say, I need social media posts from this. And I think that's, as an organizer, that's one of the things I think about is, and a question for you, whatever you think about this. One of the things I think, to your point, you started this conversation by saying, most of the reason people go to events is for the networking, and I might catch a session and then they send me the recordings and I don't watch it. And I think one of the hardest things as event organizers is that people are stuck in this mindset, organizers are stuck in this mindset that we have to educate so many people and hammer these topics, and the sponsors, of course, pay for those topics to get listed. One of the things I think about is just too much damn content. So one of the great things about what you're creating is obviously we can get it in more digestible chunks. I would bet that people are not going to go back and read summaries either. Like you said, they've already spent their 3 days at the event and they really don't want to go back to it. But the idea of using it in blog posts or social media, or being able to like pull out what a sponsor was specifically wanting you to talk about in that session and highlight that on a newsletter or in social, it makes so much sense to me. What are some creative ways that you're seeing people are using? Because there's the content and there's the access to the AI generation, but like, what could we be doing with this that's a little bit different than just regurgitating it all back in different formats?
Yeah, so let's look at the 3 different personas: the event organizer, this panelist speaker, and then the attendee, right? So from a event organizer, you're right, I got to add more value to my sponsors. So from a event standpoint, you're like, well, hey, I'm going to be sending out recaps. So how do I now put the recap sponsored by X, Y, and Z. So like I'm adding more value to my sponsors, because sponsors are always looking at like, great, I paid for the speaking track, or I paid for whatever. It's like, great, well, I can now also add more value because everyone's going to be getting a copy of this. You can also then include that in the charge or upcharge why that sponsor is going to pay more. It's like, we're providing so much more value. So there's so many more ways that the event organizer is able to monetize this, so that you're not looking at this as an extra lift, an extra cost. It's like, no, you're adding more value. People are now finding more value in it, which goes to the next piece of the speaker and the panelists. We need the content. I need that content so I can post about it, so I can talk about it, so I can always be leveraging social, which also goes into the third persona of like, I attended an event. Boss asked me, what did you learn at this event? I'm like, well, here's the business cards. And old school, right? No business cards really anymore. It's like, whatever it is. But like, what did I learn? I'm fumbling around writing my notes. I'm like, I learned X, Y, and Z. Or like, I talked to Bob, I talked to Sally. It's like, you know what? I got these recaps. And I've got all this information that's now included. I'm going like, all right, well, I can come in here and go like, this is what I learned, this is what I learned, and start pulling those pieces out. So like I actually looked like I did attend more than I did. And then also if we go back to persona 1, so if you are the event organizer, everything I'm just showing you is from a recording by recording. But what's so cool is you've got the feature of pages. And pages allows you to aggregate multiple recordings. So now I can go ahead and say, let me take all these recordings, up to 5, and create an article, create a social post. So a good example is, I attended a conference. I took out my phone. We have an iOS app. And I'm like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to hit record, and I'm going to get the recording of this, went straight to my phone. And then afterwards, I took the 3 recordings I recorded, the panelists. I'm like, all right, write me, there we go. Now write me a social media post. So I am able to have my social media post already, like, what did I learn at this event? I don't have to think about what am I going to write. It's now giving me that based on what I've got. So I'm now able to give more content out there to evergreen and promote it. There's so many ways now that you are able to repurpose that. And I saw one of the questions like, I'm worried about my content being taken out of context and so forth. Like that is a conversation that I think the event organizer should have with their panelists, going like, look, we're going to record this. We're using AI to help repurpose this. You can put this behind a paywall if you want it. So right now I'm showing you this as shared link. I don't want everyone to have this. You can make this a behind the paywall, so you can embed this content. Transcript, magic chat, just as an example, you can enable all 3. And so this becomes an iframe. So you can make it behind a paywall, going like, you have to log into a website to have access to this, as opposed to everyone having access to it with the link I'm showing you right now. So there's so many different ways that hopefully this gets the brain turning and answers your question really at the core, Liz.
Yeah, it's super helpful. I think there's someone says so cool, the robots are taking over. This is why I always say please and thank you to ChatGPT.
I do the same now. I say hello to Claude and then I say goodnight to Claude right now. So like I just don't want Terminator to come and like I think this is fantastic, and it does open a lot of like, you know, new channels, marketing channels, content marketing channels. The other ideas that I got, and I know Tracy also takes the stage quite a bit, is from a speaker perspective. This is where you are able to recycle, reuse, but also to capture the content that you are always having, especially with the app. So that's one. Second is for all of those planners and organizers that are listening in, and you have still in your prospectus and you offer this, that you have sponsored sessions. So like brought to you by, you know, Vegas, or brought to you by blah, blah, blah kind of thing. This is where you can definitely then give back to your sponsor, not only having a logo or having them do like a 2-minute, you know, video in the beginning of the session. Give them back that content and give them assets so that they can repurpose it into their own marketing channels as part of their package. because it's not about them taking the stage and then getting off and just introducing a speaker and that's it, right? So it's them sort of having some sort of way where they can promote all of this packaged great content, basically. And I think that's that's part of the ROI for them. I always have a holy shit moment when I look at like platforms like Cast Magic, but it auto magically takes a look at content in so many different ways. So yeah, there's a holy cow, holy shit moment happening right now within the audience, which is great.
There's so, I mean, if we go back to that comment of like, all right, ChatGPT and the AI is taking over, like you can inject more of the style you want in the writing. You've got the ability, but for me, the core was like, how do I end up walking away with more? How do I turn my event organizing skills into I'm now a media company? And we understand the value of becoming a media company because you're now offering more value. It's not like come to this amazing event with these amazing speakers and this incredible networking and all the boosts and everything else, but it's now I'm walking away with content that is consumable, repurposable, and you as the event organizer are like, oh my God, my website now becomes a plethora of where you can go to consume, because the pages feature, if you use the share link, no one else has access to pages. So now you're able to start, how do I slice and dice and create, guidebooks? Or as you were talking about, Dial, it's like, how do I go and work with my sponsors? Like, if you're sponsoring this pact or this tract, what assets could we create for you? And then is that an upcharge, so
Worksheets.
forth, worksheets? So like you're now able to automate that. I can automate. So if we look here, I have a different one where I've got automation set up. My AI content tab, I've automated all these other pieces of content. I have like 50 prompts. So every time I load a recording in, all those prompts are running. And I get to choose what do I share and what don't I in my shared link. But for me, I can have that conversation with my sponsors now and go like, what would be valuable to you? What could we create? And if you want to create snippets, you can go like, hey, these little shorts, or there's different sections of this that you want to do. You can turn those all into, so if we go here, I've got saved clips. So I've gone in here and I've started clipping little sections of those panels and going like, hey, here's a shared link that I can send out there or download this asset. So like now, once again, I am turning my conference and finding more ways from an ROI standpoint, but how do I keep the buzz going instead of like the event's over? Now what? Now as an event organizer, I'm moving on to the next event, but I've got all this media content that I'm able to keep fueling and drive people back to my website, driving back to my newsletters, my sponsors, and so forth.
Fantastic. All right. So we have a couple of questions real quick. But
Yeah.
Peggy's asking, are these included in the basic level program or enterprise level?
Everything I'm showing you is you have unlimited spaces. You have the ability to invite people to your spaces. So if we go here, spaces, create as many spaces as you want. Profiles, I've had them released. So originally the event profile, you had to hit me up or someone on the team for it. It's public. You can go ahead and create that or any of the other spaces. So yeah, everything I'm showing you is included.
Yeah. And then Marissa says, talk about the content profile differences. So if you can talk quickly about that, or
so profiles here, you've got 12 different profiles. A profile is attachment to a space. A space is basically a folder of content. So if I look at here, I've got a folder of Greg's podcast, I've got Greg's guests, I have events. So you get to choose what out of the box content is preloaded, and then you get to come up with your own prompts and build up your own content.
Fantastic. And Shapiro, you have a question for us. How closely have you read the content this produces in its various forms? I don't know. How closely? I don't think, Liz and Bruno, have you used Cast Magic before?
I have not.
But
So
I think, yeah.
Everything's editable. So the nice thing is you can automate. Like I got 50 prompts running. I got 50 pieces of content that get created for me. I'm like, great, here we go. I've also got events that are like, look, this is generated with AI. Therefore, it's got AI mistakes that deal. So take it with a grain of salt if you want, or whatever you want to provide as your caption. But that's also why you enable like the magic chat, so that they can come out and pull whatever they want from there.
Fantastic. Greg, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to put the affiliate link one more time in the chat, and we hope to see you in person and hug you in person at an industry event.
And hold on, affiliate link, but that doesn't help so much as a month free. So if you all want a month free, use the I can't even talk. Use the promo code PODMAGIC, PODMAGIC, all capitals, for a month free. I lead the onboarding, I do the training, so I'm here to help you guys and get this set up for you.
You are awesome.
Thank you. You too.
Welcome to the Cut the Shit, Cue the Genius Club. So there you go. You're all good. All right. Okay, so we're closing slowly. I know that we've been on for quite a bit of time. How are you guys feeling? How was this for you?
Us? Or,
yes.
Or them?
You.
Yeah, this was fantastic. I think we definitely should do it in another 100. Go to the 2 hours. 30 minutes is pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. Marin says it's a great session. Thank you. And yes, happy celebration of a 100. Boom, bam. Mm-hmm. And Liz, what are your thoughts? What do you think? I'm happy that we got you for like the 2 hours. I want to hug you like, oh.
Hey, you got to make the time for important things, No, it was great. I think the content is always good. I mean, there's so many good perspectives in the industry, so it's always nice. I could do this all day, but it was nice to see our geniuses hanging through for a lot of this.
Absolutely.
So obviously there was some in and out with people who had meetings and things, but I mean, look at you guys just hanging through. Sean's here the whole time, Shapiro, everyone is here. So thanks to them for listening to us ramble for all this time. But I was, anytime you saw me, I was, how I like to email myself takeaways. So now I got to go through my inbox and figure out all these ideas.
Well, I think this has been absolutely fantastic. And yes, thank you to our geniuses and to those that have stuck with us for the 100 and for the 100th episode. Yes. We love you so much. And here's to another 100. And if you have any topics, any pet peeves, any rants, you know where to go. Like, you need to come to us. We're ready. Like, we're ready to take it on screen. We're ready to have the hard conversations, ready to help you out at any time of day. Well, I shouldn't say that, but like, you know what we're saying. And we just want to thank you. And we are grateful, and hearts are bursting right now. So we love you, and have a wonderful Thursday. And we will see you again soon. Yay.
Bye.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Awesome.
Thoughts that shine in the dark. Celebrate, we've reached the peak.